Good to have you with us. I'm Joe Fryer.
And I'm Savannah Sellers. We're going to start our show in Washington, where there is mounting pressure for an independent investigation into that leaked Signal group chat discussing plans to attack Yemen. The conversation was between top Trump administration officials, but the Atlantic editor, Jeffrey Goldberg, was accidentally added to the group by National Security Advisor Mike Waltz.
On Wednesday, Goldberg and the Atlantic released the text chain in full. It included messages from Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth specifying the types of military aircraft and the timing of strikes, but it did not include information about specific targets. The new release is sparking further calls for accountability from some lawmakers, but the White House and Hegseth are digging in, insisting no classified information was shared.
Nobody's texting war plans. Well, I noticed this morning, out came something that doesn't look like war plans. And as a matter of fact, they even changed the title to attack plans because they know it's not war plans. There's no units, no locations, no routes, no flight paths, no sources, no methods, no classified information.
In a few moments, we're going to hear from the former Director for European Affairs on the National Security Council, Lieutenant Colonel Alex Vindman. But before that, let's get to our White House correspondent, Aaron Gilchrist. So, Aaron, what reasons did the Atlantic and Goldberg give for releasing the text conversation in full, and what more does it reveal?
Well, Joe and Savannah, you have two journalists who worked on the original story here who are experienced in covering national security issues. And in their estimation, after they read what was in these messages, they were concerned that there was sensitive, classified information that was being shared in this group. And so the magazine chose first to describe that information rather than publish it in total. But after the original article, you had so many members of the Trump administration saying that this was not classified information, that there was nothing top secret about it. And so they also decided to go after the publication, trying to discredit the Atlantic and its editor-in-chief. And so in an effort to be more transparent about what was there and to share information that the administration said was not classified, we saw this level of detail published yesterday by the Atlantic that talked about the types of aircraft that were being used, the F-18s, the drones, that talked about the timing of some of the attacks that would be launched against the Houthis in Yemen. And the administration, again, has leaned into this narrative that that information is not classified, but now it's out there for people who've worked in national security circles for the entirety of their careers to look at this. And we've heard them say time and again, Joe and Savannah, that this is information that should not be available to the general public.
Aaron, we mentioned, of course, the official line here from the White House is that no classified information was contained in these messages. We just heard Pete Hegseth saying that. But it seems like the president might have been a little less certain when he was asked about this directly yesterday, right?
Yeah, you're right. We've heard the administration, again, try to discredit the publication. They talked about there's no classified information. They've tried to say that the operation was a success, therefore no harm, no foul. The president himself was asked about this, has been asked a few times over the last couple of days, and his responses have been a bit odd, seeming to suggest that either he's not fully aware of all the details that are out there right now and who exactly is involved. I want you to hear a little bit of one of his responses late yesterday about the message chain and this controversy in general.
Well, that's what I've heard. I don't know. I'm not sure. You'll have to ask the various people involved. I really don't know. There was no harm done because the attack was unbelievably successful that night. And it has been unbelievably successful every single night for the last 4 or 5 nights.
And so, again, there you hear the president really talking about the operation itself and the level of success that his administration believes they were able to achieve. And again, we've heard members of the administration saying that this story is a distraction. It's an editor trying to get some attention. And so they believe that there's not a story here, Joe and Savannah.
Yeah, still, Aaron, though, even some allies of President Trump, some Republicans, are joining Democrats, calling for a stronger response from the White House that includes firing people. So we know both the National Security Advisor, Mike Waltz, the Defense Secretary, Pete Hegseth, they're the ones who are at the center of this firestorm. What kind of pressure are they facing?
There is some pressure. Listen, there are people here in Washington who believe that there needs to be a pound of flesh given up for this mistake. There's been acknowledgement within the administration that this conversation, this information that's now out there, was a mistake. And so the question becomes, for some, who is to be held responsible? There are Democrats on the Hill who said that both the National Security Advisor, Mike Waltz, and Pete Hegseth, the Defense Secretary, should ultimately be held responsible, the person who created the group and the secretary who put this military information in the group. I want you to hear how President Trump responded when he was asked about Defense Secretary Hegseth and whether he should go.
Hegseth is doing a great job. He had nothing to do with this. Hegseth. How do you bring Hegseth into it? He had nothing to do. Look, it's all a witch hunt. I don't know that Signal works. I think Signal could be defective, to be honest with you.
And so that was that peculiar answer that the president gave, saying that Hegseth was essentially not involved. Of course, we know that he's the person who put in this information about the F-18s and the Reapers. The president saying, I guess, and I don't know, several times in some of his responses. And so now, Joe and Savannah, the controversy doesn't go away. There are Republicans who are also suggesting to members of our NBC News team that the administration needs to take a real action on this issue, to not just look into it, as we've been told the administration is doing, but to really investigate and to hold somebody accountable.
All right, Aaron Gilchrist. Aaron, thank you.
For more on this, let's bring in Lieutenant Colonel Alex Vindman, former Director for European Affairs on the National Security Council. He's also the author of the New York Times bestseller, The Folly of Realism: How the West Deceived Itself About Russia and Betrayed Ukraine. Also, he was the whistleblower at the center of President Trump's first impeachment over a phone call with Ukrainian President Zelensky. Good morning. Thank you very much for joining us. So as we mentioned here, the Atlantic has published the transcript of those text messages, and it details this military attack, these plans. Members of the Trump administration saying this wasn't classified information. But now that we have the full picture of what was shared, what's your take and what are your biggest concerns?
Yeah, so seemingly to the general public, it might come across as a he said, she said, but it's because the White House is doing an enormous amount of obfuscation and deflection. This is, on the face of it, telegraphing a attack that's coming. So if you think about, just in layman's terms, do you want to lose the element of surprise? If there was a breach of this group, there was, in fact, it was benign in the fact that it was the editor-in-chief of the Atlantic. But if somebody else had access to it, they would know, they would have advanced warning of a coming attack. That puts troops' lives in danger. It's a serious breach. We've not had anything at this level, a principals committee, this kind of breach, and that I could think of, I think, ever. The previous controversy about unclassified emails on personal servers pales in comparison. So I think the White House is trying to do, kind of this semantic argument. Same thing with Secretary Hegseth. He's saying because they didn't classify it, it's not classified. But according to any regulations that you read, whether they're DOD or the Director of National Intelligence, this is about military operations. So it's extremely sensitive. The other part of this that's being missed, I think, is, yes, we should focus on the fact that troops' lives were put in danger, that this is likely a pattern of events. It's the fact that it was really sensitive discussions of a diplomatic nature, or that would have a diplomatic impact. That these folks were really belittling our alliances, harming our ability to work with our friends across the Atlantic. I think the fact is that the Democrats and some Republicans that have served in uniform, that have national security expertise, do take this seriously, and they need to investigate it, because right now it seems like the administration is looking to do what they've done consistently so far, which is deflect, cast aspersions, and really not fundamentally change their ways. And in this case, we clearly need to see the White House accountable, their feet to the fire, so they don't have these kinds of breaches going forward.
So, Colonel, when we talk about accountability, we know there's a growing number of allies to President Trump who are calling on him to actually fire Mike Waltz. Is that enough to ease worries when it comes to national security, or is the issue bigger than that?
I think there is a fundamental issue with this administration believing they are totally unaccountable. They have the House, the Senate. They believe they have the Supreme Court. They claim to have a mandate. So under these conditions, they don't feel like they're accountable to anybody, let alone a minority that has really little power for oversight in Congress. So I think something needs to happen in order to make sure these folks understand that they're not all that different than any other administration that has to abide by the Records Act, that these communications should be over secure channels and recorded for posterity as per the law. I think that hint of Mike Waltz is on the chopping block because the president deflected from Secretary Hegseth, seeming to point the blame on Mike Waltz for creating the group and implying that Signal is compromised, which it is to near peers. I think he is quite vulnerable. But it was Secretary Hegseth that, in fact, shared this highly sensitive information that comes across as if it was a copy and paste from another official account. So something needs to happen with regards to an investigation. The IG, potentially for DOD, needs to look into this matter, make sure this isn't a systemic issue, and make sure these types of communications occur in official channels.
What does this incident say about how sensitive information is just generally being shared within the Trump administration?
The fact that this was labeled Houthi PC small group implies that there are other PC small groups for other topics. Equally sensitive. It could be Russia-Ukraine negotiations, which, in fact, Russia has advanced capabilities and is doing everything they can to get access to these kinds of communications to peek into what the administration is willing to do. Potentially, those aided the Russian negotiations in Saudi Arabia earlier this week. So I think the fact is that we need to have a better understanding. There needs to be the traditional oversight that you get from Congress needs to be brought into force here. And I really do hope that those national security practitioners, folks that have that background, that understand how our adversaries operate, how this was a severe compromise, are going to look into this and make sure that our troops' lives and U.S. national security is not continued to be placed in danger.
Lieutenant Colonel Alex Vindman, thank you very much for your time this morning.
Rescuers are searching for 4 missing U.S. soldiers in Lithuania after finding their submerged vehicle. The Pentagon says that armored vehicle was found in a body of water. Officials say the soldiers were riding in that vehicle when they went missing. It happened during a tactical training with Lithuanian forces near the international border with Belarus. Each soldier was from the 1st Brigade, 3rd Infantry Division, which is stationed at Fort Stewart in Georgia.
Well, this morning, the global auto industry is reacting to President Trump's sweeping announcement of a 25% tariff on all cars coming into the United States. The White House clarified yesterday that foreign auto parts would also be taxed, even if they're going into cars that are assembled here in the U.S. President Trump said the new tariffs are permanent and that he expects the move to lead to more domestic manufacturing, creating more jobs for Americans.
If you build your car in the United States, there is no tariff. And what that means is a lot of foreign car companies, a lot of companies are going to be in great shape because they've already built their plant, but their plants are underutilized, so they'll be able to expand them inexpensively and quickly. But others will come into our country and build, and they're already looking for sites.
But some trade groups are warning about the potential cost to customers. That includes the president of the trade group Autos Drive America, which represents the U.S. operations of international automakers. She criticized the announcement, saying in part the tariffs will make it more expensive to produce and sell cars in the United States, ultimately leading to higher prices, fewer options for consumers, and fewer manufacturing jobs in the U.S.
We've got NBC News business and data correspondent Brian Chung here. Brian, good morning. So tell us some of the details here. When do these tariffs start? Are there any exceptions?
Yeah, so these tariffs start soon. They start next Thursday, April 3rd. And as far as exceptions go, the only exceptions would be anything that's already made in the United States. So, yes, if it's a car that's entirely assembled with auto parts from the United States and assembled in the U.S., then it wouldn't be tariffed. But that's, in many cases, very few cars. So it's a 25% tariff on all cars coming into the U.S. on those foreign auto parts. And I know the question is, wait, Brian, I thought we just talked about some sort of tariff exemption for automakers, right, during the U.S., Mexico and Canada negotiations. Well, even for USMCA compliant, again, that's the trade deal negotiated by Trump over his first term, even for cars that are compliant with that specific deal, apparently the White House is now going to look at a vehicle that comes in, take a look at the percentage of the parts that are not not made in the United States, and then do a 25% tariff according to the percentage of the car that is assembled outside of the United States in, say, Canada and Mexico. So even cars that are compliant with a trade deal that he already negotiated could see higher costs coming into the U.S. as well.
So, and that's, first of all, a lot of cars are like that, right? That are built in the U.S. but have parts from outside. And that includes Tesla, right?
Right, yeah. So the White House estimates that this would impact about 8 million cars roughly. They say about 60 million cars come into the United States. They estimate about 50% of them are from foreign, constructed or built in other countries. Now, when it comes to Tesla, there are some vehicles that are made very largely in North America. In fact, when you look at a lot of statistics, it's hard to decouple what's exactly coming from specifically the United States versus what comes from Canada, because they often group the U.S. and Canada together because they're so closely intertwined. But vehicles like, for example, the Model 3 are over 80% made in the U.S. and Canada. But a lot of foreign cars as well are assembled entirely in the United States, meaning that in many cases, actually, the foreign automakers might not be as impacted. Weirdly, in some cases, it might be the likes of like a Ford or a GM that is assembling things in Canada. If they bring it over into the U.S., that would be a 25% tariff. So this is all very complicated. Again, over $400 billion in imports that the United States has in terms of the automotive industry. This is a huge impact for people that are going to be trying to buy a car in the next few months.
And here's another big thing. This is really just like a prelude, right, to what's been teased as this bigger tariff announcement unveiling next week. What do we know about what we might hear there, and how the president is trying to maybe get ahead of retaliation here?
Yeah, so if you look at the calendar, right, April 3rd is next Thursday, but April 2nd is the big day that we've been talking about for the past few weeks. That is the day of American liberation that the president has promised these reciprocal tariffs. So if another country levies, let's say, for example, a 25 or a 30% tariff on a certain agricultural product, well, then the United States would slap that exact number on the same agricultural product that they import from the other countries. So this is a type of wide-ranging, sweeping type of tariff that could affect every country, could affect every type of product. So that's really the big one. But again, when you add onto this, because our understanding is that these automotive tariffs will be on top of that, that can make the cost of buying a car even that much higher, depending on what tariffs other countries apply to United States automotive products. So this is a very much moving target. I want to point out, not everyone is opposed to this. The UAW, right, you remember they were actually on the campaign trail supporting Kamala Harris. They did come out and support the Trump tariff, saying that this would protect automotive jobs in the United States. A very powerful union there. But again, a lot of complication to this story, and it just kind of leads up a very confusing tariff headline for what could be next week.
Someone's going to have a busy week next week.
That'll be me.
Thanks, Brian.
Firefighters in the Carolinas are trying to get a handle on several major wildfires. Now high winds are pushing flames dangerously close to homes, forcing people to evacuate, with the fire forecast looking dire. NBC News correspondent Marissa Parra is in Pickens, South Carolina with the latest.
Good morning. Good to be with you. We are at the Incident Command Center. This is just outside of the Table Rock fire in South Carolina. Remember, there are multiple fires across not just South Carolina, but North Carolina. And we understand, according to the latest update we got, that the Table Rock fire, the one that is near us right here, nearly doubled in size overnight. We're talking about roughly 4,600 acres now. So we're about to see an update from Incident Command here. They're about to discuss their latest firefighting efforts, their plans for today. We know that the lack of rain, the lack of humidity, the dryness in the air, and the winds continue to be a factor. And then, of course, the leftover debris from Hurricane Helene. Today marks 6 months since Hurricane Helene ravaged this area and, of course, left behind so much debris, so much that is now causing further fuel for those flames in this region, and of course further trauma for the people who had to flee their homes with whatever they could carry, whatever they could put inside of their trucks and their cars, and that of course staying in a temporary shelter wondering what they're going to come home to.
All right, Marissa, thank you.
Well, let's take a look at what's on the horizon for the Carolinas and what else to expect from your Morning News Now weather.
Michelle Grossman joins us now with the forecast. Michelle, good morning.
Good morning, guys. Yeah, so there's no red flag warnings in the Carolinas right now, but there are statements out of the weather offices saying that we do have conditions, like Marissa said, relatively low humidity Also gusty winds, bright sunshine, high pressure that could induce some fire danger once again today. And it's not just the Carolinas, it's into the Northeast as well. So this is going to be an ongoing problem. We are in a drought. This will be many months to come. The fire season used to be May to November. It has grown way past that, and we're going to be talking about this for months and months to come. Let's talk about the rain that is falling in some spots, and it is heavy in some spots, specifically southern Texas. We're looking at training storms going over the same spots, dumping heavy rain, and we're going to see that continuing into tomorrow morning. Notice the Pacific Northwest right off the coast. We have a big cyclone that's bringing in that rain. That's been happening since late yesterday. We're looking at mountain snow as well, some windy conditions there. And then looking at some storms throughout portions of the Midwest. We do have a severe weather risk for parts of Iowa, Kansas, Missouri. So we're going to be watching that as we go throughout today. But notice the East Coast where Marissa is. We are dry. We are looking at sunshine, high pressure in control. So that's going to bring us the threat for increased fire danger today once again. Flood alerts all across southern Texas from Victoria to Corpus Christi, to Laredo, because we are looking at heavy rain falling. Where you see those bright colors, that's where we're looking at the heaviest rain falling. And it's sort of just tracking over the same areas. It's pulling that moisture off the Gulf. So this is subtropical-like storms where we're seeing the rain falling, and we could see up to 10, even 15 inches of rain in some localized spots. Generally, we'll see 4 to 8 inches, and we could see the risk for some severe storms as well. So we're going to watch the system move off to the east. It's going to be a slow mover, soaking South Texas. A few thunderstorms are possible, and then by tomorrow, we'll see it sort of shift off to the east. So now we're talking eastern Texas into parts of Louisiana, and then we're not done with it yet because now we're talking Saturday. We see a severe risk increasing from Texas all the way to Ohio. Could see some storms too in Tennessee and Mississippi. And we're going to be dealing with severe weather on Sunday and Monday as well. Guys, this is what it looks like in southern Texas today. Could see a 60-mile-per-hour winds with any of the storms, some hail as well, specifically Corpus Christi down to Brownsville. Back to you.
Thanks for watching. Stay updated about breaking news and top stories on the NBC News app or follow us on social media.